Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Indiana Overtime, or I guess it's Inside Indiana Double Overtime tonight. Alex McCarthy, Seth Tao. Also, if you're watching this, please send coffee to the Memorial Stadium press box as it inches closer to 2:30 a.m. We were here watching Indiana play deep into the night against number 17 Michigan State, and the fans who stayed got a heck of a show as Indiana won. First ranked win since beating Missouri a couple years ago. First home win over a ranked team since 2006, which was also IU's last win over a ranked Big Ten team, which was Iowa. First win over Michigan State since 2006. So a lot of firsts since tonight for Indiana, and it just a total game of kind of redemption in a lot of ways. You know, redemption for just the loss last week that I think a lot of people were really dissatisfied about, but then redemption for Richard Lego as well, and just throughout the game for Griffin Oaks especially. Yeah.
Definitely for Griffin Oaks. I mean, I don't even want to know what he was thinking at the end, especially after Michigan State missed that field goal. I mean, that must have been really tough on him mentally, and then for him to miss that field goal in overtime, get bailed out by the leaping penalty, that's huge. I mean, basically gave him a chance at an extra point to win the game.
Yeah, it was like exactly an extra point. They were on the 3-yard line, basically in the middle, and chip shot. He's struggled a lot this year. I guess he's 5 for 9 now on field goal attempts. Missed from 40, missed from 50 tonight. 50 is tough, but I mean, I don't know, for a guy who has the leg that he has, it's, I don't know, and for the way he performed last year, you think he's pretty automatic. But yeah, Indiana left a lot of points on the board around the field tonight. They were at the 2-yard line and called a halfback pass on 4th and goal from Tyler Natee, intended for Ian Thomas, which was just kind of a cluster, I guess, of a play.
That play call even surprised Tyler Natee. He said that after the game that everyone on the sideline was kind of looking around like, did he really just call that?
Yeah, and then he did it again. Hand off to Mitchell Page. He turned and chucked it over to Richard Lego, who made a really nice over-the-shoulder catch. Just really nice. And Lego had a pretty good game. He threw an interception early on that was bad. I would say that it was worse than any of the 5 he threw last week against Wake Forest, just because he had Mitchell Page for a touchdown on that play and just sailed it.
And Lego admitted as much. He was the first to say that it was a terrible throw and he needed to hit Mitchell Page on that play, and he just flat out missed.
Yeah. And what did you think of Lego just in general tonight? I mean, he seemed to keep his composure obviously a little bit better than he did against Wake Forest.
Yeah, in general, especially I'm especially impressed that he was able to keep it together a little more, given that the run game didn't pick up until like the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. I mean, Devine Redding didn't really get going until the fourth quarter. His numbers looked pretty good, but Lego didn't have the big passing numbers like he did last week. But overall, I don't think he needed to. He had a couple big completions, but he was, as I said in my recap, he was appropriately more cautious this week. And I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
276 passing yards, which is nothing compared to the almost 500 he threw for last week. But like you said, he didn't really need to. This wasn't a shootout by any means.
And there weren't nearly as many risky throws this week as he made last week. And overall, he gave Indiana a chance to win, and they got the job done.
Yeah, and the pressure really fell on IU's defense all night, and it performed as well as we've probably ever seen Indiana's defense play. I mean, they didn't, it's not like they had 2 pick sixes like they did against FIU, but they stood up against a pretty good Michigan State offensive line, and just, I mean, the level of talent that they have at Michigan State, 2, 3, 4 people deep, is daunting, and yeah, this was a home game, and this Michigan State team is not at all the Michigan State team of last year that went to the college football playoff, but still, Indiana's defense forced 3 3-and-outs. They got a turnover, a takeaway, for the first time since the first half of the Ball State game, which was a relief for a lot of those guys. And then late in the game, I mean, they gave up the touchdown on fourth down at the end of regulation to send it to overtime. But in overtime, they played one of the best series I've seen an Indiana defense ever play. I mean, they get 2 sacks there, push Michigan State way back, and essentially out of any kind of easy field goal range, and that won them the game pretty much. I mean, it was just Ralph Green gave one of the great all-time interviews. I've been covering this team since whole tenure, and I can't think of an interview as honest and outrageous as Ralph Green made. Maybe I'll talk about that on the site a little bit, but basically he said, in reference to the defense, we were tired of being the reason IU loses games, and we were glad to be the reason that IU won a game tonight.
And it's basically been that way this whole season.
Yeah. I mean, Indiana's put up some big yardage numbers offensively, but has not finished drives very well, and that was going on a lot today. I mean, 2 missed field goals, a failed fourth down, it was, and the pick in the end zone. I mean, a lot of the same problems that have plagued IU were here again tonight, but Indiana was over to
penalties in the first half.
Yeah, which they erased in the second half. 7 penalties.
That was a remarkable turnaround. They
Yeah.
had 7 penalties in the first half, and it looked like they were headed for potentially an all-time low bar for penalties under Wilson, but no penalties after halftime. That was impressive.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, the referees were just blowing whistles and throwing flags all over the place in the first. I mean, on both teams. I mean, there were 14 penalties combined in the first half. A bunch of holding calls. I mean, it was kind of outrageous.
And they were always at an inopportune time for
Yeah.
Indiana. They had the one fumble recovery on the bad snap by Michigan State, but they had 2 or 3 other takeaways wiped out by penalties.
Yeah, and Michigan State had horribly timed penalties too. I mean, there was the punter interference kind of with Mitchell Page, which was a kind of an odd situation. Obviously holding penalties will kill you. There was a Taylor O'Connor scrambled for a first down on, I think, third down, but there was a holding penalty and moved him back and kind of killed the drive. So,
and obviously the leaping penalty at the end.
Yeah, and the leaping at the end of the game to give IU's offense and Griffin Oaks another chance. But heck of a game. It was the first half I thought was just horrific,
it
ugly
was a spot
football.
fest.
It was one of the ugliest halves of football I've ever seen. But it was the second half and overtime were also weird and odd and kind of bonkers. But Indiana got the job done and picks up obviously the biggest win of the season. Kind of makes up for the loss to Wake Forest last week, and I don't know, gives IU a ton of confidence going into Columbus next week.
For sure.
At Ohio State, 3:30 kick, ESPN. But yeah, I mean, I think this did a lot to ease a lot of the concerns that IU fans and everyone had.
Given some of the score lines that have gone in Ohio State games, Indiana might not want to start off as slow as they did today.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're not going to argue with upsetting Michigan State at home.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna, go home and watch the sunrise. I guess it's almost that time. It seems like. But thanks for watching, and we'll have a ton of stuff up on the site over the next couple days. Obviously, a lot of recruits in town, so we'll have a lot of their reactions. But for now, thanks again for watching, and enjoy your Sunday and the rest of your week.